I am live streaming this episode just like I live streamed episode 2, and today we are going to try and get to the moon with a probe. So, I have pre-designed a probe. I am live streaming this episode just like I live streamed. We have no guarantee that it will work, so here we go. So we've got 4 liquid rocket boosters. Can now asparagus stage, so I've done so. So if you don't know, asparagus staging is using these fuel lines here so that the fuel drains out of these opposite rockets first, then into these rockets, and ultimately into this main stage. And this basically helps you get significantly more delta V than you could without doing that. So after our bottom stage here, we've got this poodle as in middle stage. Then under that, we've got another poodle as our actual lander stage. And the poodle on this lander is fed from these small tanks via more fuel lines into the center. These extra tanks here basically just give the lander a wider base so that it is easier to land without toppling over. We've got a Sinus Junior. In here, we've got the smaller experiments. So we've got a temperature, a mystery glue canister, and pressure. And then we've got a small non-reaction wheel and a rechargeable battery. More rechargeable batteries. We're actually we're gonna try and bring this home. So I have not only not included any antennas or other transmission devices, but also a Mark 16 parachute, which will hopefully bring almost everything back. And it seems like my fuel lines are being a little weird here, so let's see if we can't fix that. There we go. But anyway, yeah, so this will detach on final reentry, and the probe will ride in on this heat shield, and these extra lander legs are for its final return stage. So there we go. A fairly complicated lunar probe, but I mean 35,000, well, 35.5 grand Kerbucks. It's not too expensive, and we have a contract to orbit the moon, land on the moon, bring back science for the moon. So overall, this should be a pretty lucrative mission if it succeeds. And then Ben asks, what's up? And what is up, Ben, is that I am going to take this probe to the moon, all while rather tired, because I basically didn't sleep. So I am running on caffeine. We're going to see how that goes. Here we go. Alright. So as you can see, I've got 2 of these rockets here. The ones that are on my first, the outside of my asparagus stage, are losing fuel first. And you saw that as well as if you watched episode 3, that is on YouTube. And there you saw a much larger lunar craft also using asparagus staging. So here I do a little bit of a roll, and that's because I want this next stage to be roughly at right angles, or not at right angle. What am I trying to say? Basically, I want them to be level, so that when they separate, gravity doesn't pull them towards any of my fins or my rocket very strongly. So there we go. That's why I rolled there. And Ben, thank you for hosting my stream. I really appreciate it. So there we go. That was the the liquid rocket boosters. Really, they're just there because I need a little extra kick to get myself up into these, supersonic speeds where I can really jump into the into space. Really, here's Corny's capsule. So if you watched episode 3, you remember Corny Kerbin? Or no, sorry, that was episode 2. Yep, that was still episode 2. And I have yet to get rid of his capsule. Maybe I'll just leave it there as a monument to my less than stellar performance in rescuing Kearney. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. Right. So I'm approaching 70,000 kilometers for my apoapsis, which is my target number. So I'm flattening out my trajectory a little bit to help push it out, so I have a longer period of time in which to finish my orbital insertion. Because this upper stage here does not actually have a whole lot of thrust, because it's only on a poodle. So if I can extend the period of time in which I can thrust to insert myself into orbit, that's a plus. Now I'm flattening out even more since my apoapsis is well above 70,000. Yeah, this design is likely it likely has a fairly tight delta V budget, unlike the mission that no one in the Kerbal Space Center knows about, but that only my loyal viewers know about. Alright. So here we go. Watching that periapsis height, I need that to come above 70,000 kilometers. So let's do a little physical time acceleration here, just to dial back the tedium slightly, because I realize that I really like this game, but a lot of the things that happen in the game are rather slow to watch. And yeah. So now we can see that I'm starting to fall back to Earth, or to Kerbin, which is actually not a huge problem. I still have plenty of height. My vertical speed is not super high. And I'm not firing straight at the horizon anymore. I'm letting my direction node drift towards the sky, toward the zenith, because that will actually slow my rate of descent. Obviously, as you point your rocket towards the ground, you provide upward thrust. So I should still be able to manage this without too much trouble. Below negative 100 kilometers, so we're going to get a positive number pretty soon. As long as we get it soon enough, we should be good. There we go. My camera isn't quite sure what to do yet, because I'm technically suborbital, but I'm also almost orbital. And there we go. Not a super efficient entry, but, it's okay. And I really should circularize, but I'm worried that will cost too much. So I am just going to, work on a moon encounter or maneuver node. There we go. So I'm trying to get this relatively close, although at this point it's about time to burn and just deal with it. So the closer you can get your periapsis at encounter to the body you're trying to capture on, the easier it will be for you to capture because of the Oberth effect. It will cost less delta V. Now, that's especially important if you're trying to land, which, you know, I am. So, if you're not trying to land, all you're trying to do is get high above or in space near science, then it is easier from a gameplay perspective. You know, it's actually easier as far as player skill goes to capture while going more slowly, because you'll have more time to do it in. So you want to balance your level of skill versus how much fuel you have. And like I said, I'm pretty sure the Delta V budget for this mission is not going to be super generous, so I'm going for a rather close approach. 89,000 isn't super close, but it's compared to what I was doing when I first started playing, it's actually really close. So this is not only the first moon lander mission that the Kerbals are doing, it is also the first probe mission. I never actually used the what's it called? The Staputnik. Yep, never quite used it. So I overshot a little bit, but that's okay, because now I have an even better approach. What? Quick save? I don't quick save. No, seriously, yeah. Quick save is great. Do not want to come in that. There we go. So yeah, only a 15-second burn, and I will be captured in a very low orbit. And then what I will probably do is, when I am on probably somewhere around here, so I can land in the morning, I will burn retrograde so that my orbit intersects around here. And normally I try, you know, like, oh, I want to try and land in a crater because it's usually flatter, but I think it won't matter too much. So I'm just going to try and land wherever. I don't have science from anywhere in particular on the moon, so any place that I get lunar science on the surface will be worth full science. Alright. So let's walk to my next maneuver. Whoa! Why? Why? That is not super acceptable. It flew right past my next maneuver. I am unhappy about that. It should not have done that. Yeah, I'm going around. Isn't that great? Alright, well, with the periapsis that low, that means that I am going to be intersecting some of the mountains at some point. So I am already on a you will be landing trajectory. So, note to self. Apparently, warp to maneuver, sometimes just no. But, I mean, looking at how much fuel I used, I don't think it cost me a whole lot of extra fuel, so I'm not too worried. Still got plenty of electric charge, so I'm not really worried about that either. So yeah, I mean, not great, but also not super horrible. And I'm actually not going to burn at this point. I'm going to burn somewhere around here. So let's warp there. Alright, so let's get some retrograde burning. Alright. So I need to kill 559 meters per second of, well, significantly more, but that's okay. I should still have plenty. So here's what we're going to do. Somewhere around here, I'm going to set up a maneuver node that kills off my velocity. Alright, so 1 minute and 22 seconds. So at about 1 minute 30, I am going to start burning. And yeah, I'm going to do a suicide burn in the fullest sense of the word, meaning that I probably will die. So, yeah. Oh, I probably should have left that maneuver nodes up so I had a timing. Yep, I know what I'm doing. I've played this game before. Alright. So here we are getting ready. So this is the more efficient way to do it. You can do it the cautious way, but I don't think I have enough fuel to be super cautious. So I am being less than super cautious. And yeah, I'm not going on my maneuver node because I am not actually using that as a no-kidding maneuver where I'm trying to get a precise orbit. I'm just using that as a burn time estimate for a suicide burn. And it's true that it's not technically a suicide burn. I should be waiting until the exact end. And Ben says that Kerbal Engineer has a suicide burn, and that's true, but I kind of feel like it's sort of cheating, really. I feel like I should be landing this spaceship, not Kerbal Engineer. I mean, why play if Kerbal Engineer is going to do my flying? I don't know. Maybe that's hubris? Could be hubris. But sometimes, especially when I'm playing a video game, I want to be hubristic. And yes, I do like the word hubris, in case you're wondering. And Ben says if that's cheating, then everything in Kerbal Engineer is cheating. And, see, I don't really think so, because the numbers in Kerbal Space Program, with the exception of the negative periapsis heights, which, to be honest, aren't all that super helpful, are things that you can calculate pretty easily with the numbers in the game. The biome section, maybe not. But for the most part, it's really just giving you more flight information. And also, you know, thrust to weight and delta V and things. But you can use relatively simple math. I mean, it's just a bit of... It's mostly just algebra, figuring out how all of these things are going to fit together into you having a successful mission. And Kerbal Engineer is basically just giving you those numbers faster. So, I mean, it's really only cheating if using a calculator is cheating. But it's not controlling my spaceship for me. So yeah, we've landed with about half of the fuel on our return stage. So that's actually better than I expected. And I am higher than I thought I was. Because I should be paying more attention to my height above terrain. Oh, the suicide burn option I misunderstood. Apparently, it only calculates the suicide burn for you. In which case, perhaps on my next mission, I will use it, rather than simply doing it the hard way. So Ben, if you could let me know exactly how I do that. Is it under orbit surface? So let me know where it is, and perhaps next time. Alright, so let's do some science. Because that's why this probe is here. It's not here to look at the sites, it's here to do science. Like looking at materials in a bay and logging the pressure in a vacuum. Because vacuums have widely varying pressure. It's not true, actually, they really don't. We're going to log the temperature. Alright. But also, let's take a look at where we landed. Okay. I do not want to launch from here, because I think it will be a little bit harder to get back to Kerbin. So what I want to do... Oh, I guess it doesn't really have a choice, do I? Alright, so I'm going to establish an orbit, and then launch from about here. Or, well, fall away from the moon about there. So, let's do it. It's a vessel option, huh? Suicide burn, there we go, look at that. Huh, I'll have to give that a try. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. And I also completely misunderstood that whole thing. And positive periapsis height. Alright. That's good enough. So let's try warp to maneuver again, and we'll see if it breaks my ship. HUD 1 is a good option. I have HUD 1 up. That's a thing that I already have. Okay, so let's get to 10 seconds. So, my Delta V budget, as I overshoot my burn location, but yeah, my Delta V budget wasn't as tight as I was worried that it would be, but it was significantly tighter than that super secret mission that no one knows about. So now I need to bring this down slowly, carefully. The less fuel I use getting this down, the better. I would like to be able to ride in, at least partially, on fuel. Or, sorry, on my rocket. So there we go, on a return trajectory. Oh, I can add delta V to my HUD. So basically what I'm getting is that I am not super great at using Kerbal Engineer, and that I should look more into documentation and everything like that. So yeah, I will look into that. So here we come. It's been 2 days. And I'm trying to think, could I have done this with a capsule instead of having this probe? And I think the answer is yes, but I might have wanted to increase the size of these external tanks to just one step up, and then I would have been able to get crew reports. And Ben is informing me that he also needs to go through the documentation for Kerbal Engineer and see what else can be done with it, since he has not really looked into it since 0.9. Which, being the version that I played first, has a certain special place in my heart. So I definitely didn't need as many batteries, but you know what? I have too many times run out of batteries, and that is never fun. Okay, so basically I'm going back and forth between thrusting up and thrusting directly onto my retrograde marker. So I don't want to dip too deeply into the atmosphere. But there we go. That is the last of our fuel. And here comes the re-entry heating. Now I'll probably end up going faster than this bit. Yep, because it has more drag than I do. Let's hope I don't clip it too hard. Awesome. So there we go. Let's take a look. Wow. That Apwaps has dropped fast. Although our time to periapsis keeps dropping pretty quickly. Might actually start climbing up. But that's okay, I don't mind making a second pass through the atmosphere. Better safe than sorry. And multiple passes for aero braking is definitely safer. So Ben says that he actually prefers Kerbal Space Program 0.90 with deadly reentry and Kerbal Alarm Clock over stock 1.04, but that the ISRU and associated parts are great, and I do agree that the ISRU is pretty awesome. I never used Kerbal Alarm Clock. I know that it was pretty great. I'm actually not sure if I prefer 1.0 or 0.90 with those, at least with deadly reentry. One thing I like about 1.0 is that the stock aerodynamics model is much better. So you can do things like use body lift to help fly capsules and things like that. And I really like that ability to help me adjust my reentry. And so, like right now, I can actually adjust my trajectory based on which way I point this. So I really do like that. I don't know if that means I like it more than I did in 0.9. I don't know. I mean, it's a great game either way. And is our apoapsis going to drop below 70,000 kilometers, or 70 kilometers? Looks like it. So once it does that, we're definitely not going to have to do a second pass. Oh, and apparently deadly reentry is still available. What difference does it make versus just the standard reentry heating that Kerbal Space Program 1.0 has? And if people are getting buffering, let me know, because my stream started to buffer. That's just different heat settings, apparently. Oh no, my camera! Yep, that's what happens when you slowly drop your apoapsis down below 70,000. The camera is like surface mode, orbit mode, I don't know. Different heat shields. Heat shields also act as decouplers. I do like heat shields acting as decouplers. That is cool, although it's not super important for me. I'm fine either way. Alright. So I'm still going up, but because my apoapsis is definitely below 70,000, I'm going to dip back down. So this is going to be kind of a partially bounce off the atmosphere and then come back into it. So while I'm heading up towards my apoapsis, I'm using some physical time acceleration because it's not going to have any re-entry during that period. So this will be one of my longer re-entries. Probably could have been more aggressive, but yeah, I like playing it safe so that I can actually accomplish missions without incessant reloading, like we had in episode 2. Because I don't like that. Alright, so we're coming down again. And Ben noted that his camera went crazy like that in his last video, which it did, and it really is just Kerbal Space Program not being able to figure out whether it should be in a orbit or a surface mode. Because you can see now that I'm on descent, it's putting the ground below me, whereas when you're in orbit mode, it tends to put the ground to your side. And normally you transition between what the game considers orbital mode, or an orbital situation, and a landing situation relatively quickly. But when you're doing what I do, which is a very slow descent, it gets confused. It's kind of like Z buffering, but for camera angles. And, well, Ben, now you do know that. Although now it occurs that I use the term Z buffering, and I doubt most people know what it is. And the reason I say it is because in CG graphics, one of the ways that the computer knows whether to draw an object or not is the order that comes in what's called the Z buffer. And that just tells you how far something is away from the camera. So things that are closer will get rendered, and therefore it occlude things that are farther away. Well, when two objects share the same value in the Z buffer, really two faces, they'll randomly switch back and forth as to which one renders, and you'll get this weird artifact where the texture or the surfaces will kind of bounce back and forth as to which one's dominant, and there's weird lines will appear, and it looks very ugly. And yeah, it's actually fairly common in CG to have that happen if you're not paying close attention. And it happens to me not too infrequently. It's one of the reasons why you can't usually let things touch in CG. It causes problems with the render engine. So you have to separate them by very tiny amounts. At least if that touching area is going to be in the camera's field of view. So there you go. You learned some stuff about CGI too, which is another hobby of mine. And my other channel with the name Timothy Judge has some examples of just amateur stuff that I did on my own with CG. Nothing too fancy. So here we go back into the heating. And now my periapsis is negative, so I am not going to be coming back up at all. And I will be landing over. I might actually end up landing on land. That'd be fun. I prefer landing on land because, as I think most of us know, landing in the water is a recipe for disaster. So I am pointing slightly below my prograde mark or my retrograde marker in an effort to help ensure that I land over the land. So that will decrease the rate at which my intersection with the planet moves to the west. Essentially, it increases my my glide ratio. Having these mountains loom out of the darkness is not something I really like. But that's okay. Basically, I feel like I'm going to hit them, even though I know I'm nowhere close to them, because they're not 24-kilometer tall mountains. But still, do not like having them basically be just dark shapes that I could feel like I could crash into. Alright. And as the sound effects cooled off, I'm starting to feel like we're definitely at the point where I'm going to make it. Now we're just going supersonic instead of hypersonic. And Ben, you were wrong about Scott Manley's next series, and it did not start that Thursday several weeks ago. And apparently, I don't know when it's going to start. I know he's done some live stream with his Real Solar System save. But I don't know. If I'm being honest, I'm not a huge fan of his live streams, and I don't know why. Oh, I should have extended the legs. There they go. They're extended. Turn off SAS. And, yeah, let's go back down. So, Ben, you think it'll start next Thursday? So, in, like this week or next week? Because I always hate the phrase next Thursday, because I never know if that means, like, the one that's coming up or the one that's next week, because I hear people use it both ways. But we got some contracts. Remember, this costs about 35.5k Kerbucks. So right there, just landing on the moon got us most of the cost of that back. And then this right here, achieve orbit around the moon, that now puts us into the profit range. So assuming that we don't die, even if this mission doesn't bring back science, it will still be profitable. So that's a plus. And it is transmit or recover scientific data from the surface of the moon, which means we will actually achieve our Explore the Moon contract. Assuming that we don't, I don't know, crash and die or something. And wow, we're actually really close to that coast. We almost came pretty close to landing in the water. Well, good for me. I can fly spaceships, yay! And I noticed that on my stream, actually, I have a better contrast than I do on my my main monitor. So apparently, what is just scary darkness for me is actually easily visible landscapes for everybody else. I should probably work on that, but not during the stream. I'm not going to bore people with sitting around fiddling with graphic settings. Ben says that he is not going to lie. He did not expect me to make it anywhere near the land. Good job with manipulating your glide slope. Thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate that. It's I manipulate my glide slope on reentry with capsules and probes like this almost every time, and so I now have a fairly good feeling as to how much I can, change it. And I don't know if I could give you numbers on it. It's kind of an intuitive thing, but yeah, it's something to practice because it's really handy. Really, just open up a sandbox game and just get a capsule and just practice maneuvering. You can even deflect your course to the left or right. So here we go. We're at touchdown. Let's recover. See what we get. All right. 250 science earned. We're now up to 602,000. Look at that. So for completing the Explore the Moon mission, we got 150,000. So that seriously paid for itself. And another 15,000 for transmit or recover scientific data from the surface of the moon. Ben says, everything I do in the game is intuitive. I am not book smart at all when it comes to this. That's why I like Kerbal Engineer so much. And yeah, I can see that. I also tend to be more intuitive than analytical when playing this game, which I guess would horrify NASA scientists, but, whatever. So, what are we thinking for science? I can unlock a whole bunch of stuff, but I think I will unlock whatever it is that the chat room tells me to unlock. So, let me know, chat room. Heavy rocketry, propulsion systems, advanced construction, aerodynamics, landing, advanced flight control. Having the SAS, or the RCS would be really nice. So I'm probably going to get that no matter what the chat box says. Miniaturization, I believe these two are empty. So, you know what? I am getting advanced flight control no matter what anyone says. So there's that. Purchased. But yeah, so I can still get landing, miniaturization. Yep. So yeah, advanced flight control is purchased. Where do I start getting the slightly larger pod or capsule? I don't even know anymore. Heavy rocketry? Alright, let's do that. So there's heavy rocketry, and I can still get at least one more thing. I'm seriously considering aerodynamics, but then again, I mean, advanced construction has some nice things like the detachment manifold for larger parts, the tri-couplers, different adapters, the expanded radial decoupler. Also, it has some nice parts for planetary bases. So I don't know. Aerodynamics? Is that what we're going for, is aerodynamics? I mean, having fairings would be handy. And this does give me fairings. The slope tail connector, I mean, a lot of good stuff. So, What do you think? Aerodynamics, Ben? It's up to you, Ben. What are we going to do? Confirm aerodynamics or give me something else. I'll pick whatever. Oh, a base heat shield. So for this playthrough, I've added a base mod. The actual name of the mod will be listed in the description of this video when it is uploaded to YouTube. Alright, there is a long delay. That does seem to be very true. Alright, so aerodynamics it is. Thank you for letting me get that decision made for me. So, we have a contract to science data from space around Kerbin. Where did that contract come from? I do not remember this. Active. Huh. I think this survey thing might be pretty good. But we're going to need a new plane. So our old one is not sufficient for this. So here we go. I do wish I had a ladder that could extend down. At the very least, I'm going to extend this ladder slightly. There we go. Just to make it slightly easier to grab onto. Alright. Intake. Alright. Let's get angle snap going. Let's try something different. This thing looks ridiculous, but I think it might actually fly. So, yeah, let's let's try this. I don't know how this is gonna do. It's a fairly ridiculous kind of thing, but let's give it a try. Nope, it needs some fuel lines. So let's revert that to the space plane hangar. There we go. Yep, otherwise that fuel in here is worthless. So let's also get rid of my pallet. Let's try that. Parts. It's 32 parts. Great. So here go the struts. There we go. Of course, I could just create the spaceplane hangar. Alright. Where did my contract expire? Where did my contract go? Now I'm confused. I had a contract and now it's gone. Well, I guess we can see how this thing controls in case we want to use it later. Not bad. How fast can it go? Yeah, my contract just totally disappeared. Not hugely happy about that, but whatever. I'm not even going to try to land this thing. I'm just going to revert the flight after seeing a few flight characteristics of it. Basically, I just want to see how fast I can go. The only thing I can think of is the contract expired in those few seconds, but that seems unlikely. I don't know. Well, my thrust is starting to drop off a little bit, so it looks like we're coming up into that, approaching the sound barrier range. Yeah, looks like we're basically topped out in speed. I mean, it's might climb slightly more, but alright. Well, it's not a terrible design. What shall we name it? After I make a few modifications to the control surfaces. Like saying, no, not roll, not yaw, only pitch. Also, become level. Not that. So these are just going to be elevators. So yeah, that bugs me a bit. F29 Finch? I mean, okay. Any particular reason for that? Why are the numbers so small? Who came up with this? It was under my active tab, the contract. It was under here. So we could go back to the moon with a manned mission. That could be fun. I could definitely turn a profit on it if I succeed. Could get a couple guys on a suborbital. Rescue Dilly Kerman. Getting another Kerbin out would be fun, and I do have SAS now, so it would be easier to do. Or not SAS, but RCS. I keep saying SAS. Yeah, it just disappeared. That contract is just gone. I do not understand it. So let's try another rescue attempt and make it not terrible. Let's do that. Or we could also position a satellite in a specific orbit around the moon. Has an antenna, can generate power. Reach the designated within marginal deviation. Have a thermometer. Maintain stability for 10 seconds. I mean, that's pretty easy. So I think we'll accept it, but we won't do it quite yet. First, we're going to try and rescue Dilly, because I like getting free Kerbinauts. And yeah, it doesn't even say that I failed the contract, which is weird. Alright, so let's get a spacecraft that can ferry Dilly Kerman. Get out of here, Jeb. That capsule's for Dilly. Actually, I'm going to get rid of Kearney's capsule first, because I don't want it floating around up there. Alright, let's try this again. Right? Decoupler, that's important. Actually, can we load a ship? This got into orbit pretty easily. I do not need all of these parts. I don't need this service bay or the science junior. Get out of here. Oops. Alright, so we need a little bit of RCS. There we go. And, well within our limits. So let's add a fairing. Yeah. Fairings are cool. The contract Krakens has been a new form of the Kraken. Yeah, I am inclined to believe you. Alright. Struts, struts, struts. Alright. Bam, bam. Let's get this fairing up here. And you know what else we're going to add to this? Oh wait, we need the probe body. So let's take this out of here. Probe. And that fairing still closes? Wow. Awesome. There we go. Oh, oh, symmetry. There we go. Is anyone sitting in this? Jebediah, get out of there. This isn't for you. Alright. So let's call this Rescue 1. Unless that's already taken. I do not want to. Let's call it Rescue 2. There we go. Rescue 2. So let's see how this goes. So, checking, we've been going for about an hour now, so I'm probably not going to keep going for all that much longer. Probably accomplish this mission, and then say sayonara for episode 4. And of course, I don't have a fight computer on this. That's fun. Alright, so is this going to get to orbit? I mean, we know it can get to orbit. But will it? Alright, so we are in a higher orbit than our target, and we should be able to catch up. So let's make sure that we are facing the sun, or our solar panels are facing the sun. Alright. So I'd like my encounter to happen on the bright side of the planet. Oh, maybe we can make a plane change first. What's our inclination? Minus 0.8. Barely seems worth it. That would definitely put me suborbital. Do not like. This is the part of rendezvous that I hate. Let's just go with it. 9 kilometers. I can make up that distance. Alright. Ben, you are correct. I am not talking much, and I am quite tired. I slept for about 4 hours. It was terrible. The sleep wasn't even very good. So I do apologize for not being my normal, talkative, no dead air self. But, yep. There's only so much concentration I have. And figuring out maneuver nodes and talking about essentially nothing is just not working out for me. Sorry about that. I do feel like I should be more entertaining. But, yeah. C'est la vie. And Ben, you are correct that it is a typical night on deployment. 4 hours or so of sleep. However, it has been a long time since I have been on deployment. And I am not used to deployment sleep schedules. So, there's that. And yeah, when I woke up at 3, I mean, I tried going back to sleep, and it was just not happening. So I kind of gave up, actually, on trying to sleep. Alright, so let's... What are we doing? Oh, I overshot it. That's okay. And Ben says that he tries to get 8 hours, but sometimes he wakes up earlier. I know that game. So let's see. So where is my target? Oh, there he is. So here I am adjusting my vector with my RCS, which is the much more effective way to line up an encounter. So here I'm basically doing my final approach, and I'm not doing it super efficiently, but hey, whatever. Alright. I should really turn around at this point. I am coming in too hot. There we go, that's a little better. What am I doing on RCS? Fuel. Non-repellent. Oops. Alright. So I am trying to keep my prograde vector on top of my target vector using the I, J, K, L, H, and N keys. And yeah, I really should be narrating this better, but sorry. So at this point, I'm going to be switching over to Dilly's debris or whatever. And Dilly Kerman, you need to get out of your capsule. Turn on your lights. And head off towards your rescue vessel. Bam! Look at that. So let's burn retrograde and get ourselves into the atmosphere. Go into orbit mode. Alright. That went pretty well. RCS is great. I am a huge fan of RCS. It is one of my favorite things. And Dilly Kerman is now part of my crew. And I got some money. Not a lot, but some. And, yeah. Let's fall into the atmosphere some. So I brought more SAS fuel than I needed, or RCS fuel. But that's okay. Here comes the sunrise. Beautiful Kerbin sunrise. Let's get myself back onto that retrograde marker. Oh no. Oh no. My parachute has deployed, because once again, the staging... Oh... You've got to be kidding me. My parachute's going to be destroyed. I cannot believe that. Oh look, there goes my parachute! Oh look, it was destroyed! Oh, surprise! Who'd have thought? Yup. Staging again. Alright, I'm gonna give this one more go, and then I'm done. Yeah, that was terrific. Yep, I am not super enthused about how that went. Alright, well, at least the whole getting to orbit part went a little bit faster. So let's hope that this time I don't do horribly badly. Poorly, whatever. Yeah. But hey, at least this has demonstrated how effective RCS thrusters are at getting you right on target. Because by the time that, what was his name, Billy? By the time that I got into EVA, I mean, the rescue capsule was right next to the target. So, yep. Wow, look at the dotted line between my ascending node and my target orbit. It's really, really weird. I've never seen a ascending node line look like that. It's probably because the phase difference is pretty small. Which, yeah, I mean it is. And since our orbits kind of intersect at a certain point, it's probably just causing that weird angle, but interesting nonetheless. Okay. So here we are, about to make the burn. And I'm making this burn with RCS fuel. There we go. Whoa! I've got a lot of torque. There you are. Come on, translation keys, do your magic. There we go. Alright. Don't worry, Dilly. I'm pretty sure I can get you this time. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. And yes, all of my dotted lines are weird, Ben. I agree. And sorry I didn't read that earlier. I missed it for a bit. Right. Bring that relative velocity down a little bit so I don't sail past. Well, at least this time I'm doing it actually on the date's time, which was my original plan, which should make it significantly easier. There we go. And let's start EVAing. Huh. I have lurkers, apparently. Feel free to say something in the chat box. I am a fairly pleasant fellow most of the time, although perhaps less so today. But at the very least, I'm unlikely to be rude. Okay. Go. Back into orbit mode. And let's get to retrograde. Okay, we've got the parachute on a different stage, which is, you know, really important. Okay. So I'm going to use up the remaining mono propellant before I jettison this last stage. I mean, why not, right? It's not like I'm recovering it. And I got Dilly. Dilly Kerbin is now a part of the space program crew. So he wasn't a part of the space program crew before. Now he is, and all I've really done is rescue him. So what I'm getting from this is that basically I've done the space version of impressment, which was, for those of you who are not as historically aware as I am, a practice that was the cause of a major naval, well, okay, not super major, but what ultimately led up to the part of what led up to the War of 1812 between the United States and Great Britain, which was that the British Navy was boarding American shipping vessels in the Mediterranean and then just taking the sailors and saying, oh, you're part of the Queen's Royal Navy now, or the King's Royal Navy, which, you know, the Americans weren't super happy about. So as a result, eventually the Americans went to war. But first they tried to basically ban all foreign trade in America, which did not go well. And interestingly, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts threatened to secede from the United States of America, becoming the first signatory to the Constitution to do so, long before any of the southern states did, because most of Massachusetts' income came from foreign trade, and with a complete trade embargo with foreigners, Massachusetts essentially was being starved to death economically, something they did not like. So there you go, a little bit of military, political, and maritime history. You never know what you're going to learn when you watch me live stream. Sometimes you learn about my insomnia, sometimes you learn about history, sometimes both. But this recovery should actually work. There we go. Out of re-entry heating. I want to try and get away from these hills, so I don't think it's going to work, but I'm trying. At the very least, I want to go off to the right here. Alright. Deploy that parachute in a way that actually makes sense, you know, unlike what I did before, which made 0 sense, because I didn't pay attention to staging, because sometimes I am an idiot. Oh well. There we go. It looks like this is going to be, presuming that I don't roll down this hill, which could happen. This looks like this might work out. Awesome. There we go. Awesome. Look at that. So, I think it's probably time to upgrade a building. And I'm thinking surface samples is really great, as well as upping my research limit, because I'm running out of 90 science point upgrades. So, I'm going to do that. And then I am going to sign off for the day. And thank you for watching. I'm Timothy Judge, and thanks for stopping by.